All right, I think we are live. So hopefully all you guys can hear me here. Happy Halloween. Thanks for joining the live stream. And yeah, so just like all the other live streams, this is going to work the same as all the others where we're going to go for about 2 hours or so here and just answer all your questions and, just kind of talk cars and kind of go over what's going on in the car world these days and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I'm actually wearing my Tony Stark shirt here today in honor of Halloween. I bought it way back. This is actually from the original Iron Man movie. And yeah, so this is my Halloween costume. Very lazy, I know, but I figured it's better than nothing. So thank you guys for joining me. Those of you who can here, I know it's a holiday and stuff, but I wanted to do a live stream again this month because I like doing them every month here. And it seems like you guys really enjoy them as well. So hopefully we'll have a good time here. So we got a few people trickling in. We'll see if we get some more people joining us here, but I see we have Tesla Boy Gaming, Sean, and Christian, and Christopher. So thanks for all of you for joining so far. And yeah, so another thing I always forgot to mention is if you want to do a super chat, those questions will take priority, but especially if we don't have a ton of people, I should be able to get to most of the questions without the need for any of that. But if it gets busier and you want to make sure I see your question, those questions always do get priority. But anyway, so see, we got a few more people coming in here. Welcome, everyone. And go for the first question here from Sean, who says, any news on the GR Corolla? Haven't heard anything in a while, it seems. I know someone else asked that actually in the past weekly update, and I don't know what's going on with the GR Corolla because they've had like a teaser thing on their future vehicles page on the Toyota website for, it seems like it's been like at least a year now, and I figured we would have seen something, and we have nothing. So I honestly don't know. I don't know if it's been delayed or what, because it seems like it would have been weird for them to tease it so long ago and then have everyone forget about it. Like, why even bother with a teaser if you're not going to follow up with it and have it actually go somewhere? So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with that. I wish I did. I think the most recent rumors that I heard were that it will most likely just port over the GR Yaris powertrain, which is fantastic. If that's all they do, that'll be amazing and we'll be very happy, I think, for most people. So but we'll see. I wish I had more info though. I haven't even heard any sketchy rumors or anything recently. It's like been complete silence out there with the GR Corolla. So hopefully we hear something soon. We also have Seamus here saying, is the GR86 the best bang for your buck fun car? I think it is if you want something that's an actual sports car. I think otherwise, I still think the EcoBoost Mustangs, the V6 Camaros, those types of vehicles are also fantastic values. And I think that for someone that's doing a lot of daily driving, a lot of road trips, if you want a little more comfort, a little more space, I think that, it's still really tough to beat the EcoBoost Mustangs and the V6 Camaros and vehicles like that. But if you're okay having a little bit of a smaller vehicle, a little bit less comfort, yes, I would say GR86 is the best bang for your buck fun car. Miata is right there neck and neck with it, but Miata and GR86, yeah, they're fantastic. I still wish I could find a way to justify buying a GR86 to add to the collection here, but I can't get rid of the Bullet, and I'm gonna have to just wait. Maybe I'll add one sometime down the road, but in the meantime, I'm just going to admire all the ones I see on the road once they start popping up here. We have our first super chat. Thank you, Luke, for super chat here. He says, "What window tint place do you recommend? I live near Pittsburgh in Weirton, West Virginia, getting a new Ford Maverick soon." Well, congrats on your incoming Maverick. That's awesome. Window tint, I really love Blackout Tinting. They're the ones who did all of the wraps on. They did the wrap on the Bullet. They did the window tint on the Bullet. Window tint on Beth's Mercedes, and also the ceramic coating on her Mercedes. They do fantastic work. Now they are a little bit out of the way from Pittsburgh. They're in Latrobe, so it's a little bit of a hike, but they do have a new place they just opened up as well that's a little bit closer to Pittsburgh. Might be a little bit of an easier drive. It's still going to be a little bit of a hike, but I'm a firm believer in going and doing the drive or for whatever it is, if it's a good quality experience, then I think it's worth the trip. That's why, even with all my Mustangs in the past, I've always gotten them out of state because all the dealers around me are terrible. So I always, do road trips every time I buy a car. So I think it's worth the trip. So hopefully that helps. And thank you so much for the super chat. Other questions here. Ethan says, Matt, would you recommend the new BRZ to be my first car? Planning to get one when it comes to my country soon. I think the BRZ is a great first car, and especially compared to the GR86, the BRZ is a little more friendly and a little safer with its tuning setup, so it's a little bit less easy to oversteer. The 86 really wants to slide around even more, I think, and BRZ will do it. You just have to provoke it a little bit more. But I think the BRZ would be a really great first car, especially a first car for learning rear-wheel drive dynamics. It's not going to be overwhelming or overpowering. I mean, the first-gen BRZ is what I learned to drive rear-wheel drive stuff on. It just was a really good entry vehicle before I stepped to the higher horsepower stuff like, the Mustangs and all that. So I think it's a great first car. Good luck. Hopefully you can get one pretty easily and it's not too hard or there aren't any weird dealer things. I've seen some people, I think, talking about there being markups already on the first few BRZs and stuff that are coming in here in the States. So hopefully that's not too bad. I hate when dealers do markups. I get that it's a supply and demand thing, but it's so annoying whenever, cars, especially cars that are supposed to be affordable and you mark them up. It just, I hate that. So anyway, maybe someday we can get rid of the whole dealer network thing altogether and just do what Tesla does. I think it's a brilliant thing to just cut out dealers altogether. But unfortunately, we have to stick with them here. And there are some good ones out there that aren't terrible and sleazy, but a lot of them unfortunately are. So other questions. Ryan says, what do you think about the C8 Z06? I actually just talked about it in my weekly update here that I just posted 2 days ago. So you can go watch that for all of my thoughts, but I think it's amazing. It's fantastic. Once I heard the 8600 RPM redline, was going to be in it, that was like all I needed to know, but the amazing horsepower number and all that, I really, really love it. I just wish the back end was a little bit more exciting still. I don't love the back ends on the C8 still. It hasn't grown on me. It just looks kind of blah. And I wish that they would have amped it up a little bit more with the Z06, but that is my only nitpick. If I had $100,000 or however much they're going to cost, I would totally buy one in a heartbeat. I think they're sweet. So Smile Per Mile says, happy Halloween, Matt. Did you like the 007 film? There were some good one-liners, really enjoyed the music and those car chases. Yes, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it. I know it's been several weeks since it's been out. So if everyone in here has seen it, we can discuss it because I am a huge Bond fan and I'd be more than happy to discuss it. I really liked most of it. I did not like the ending. I would say I actually hated the ending. For various reasons. I thought that the writing towards the end was kind of weak. I thought that it was kind of a strange and just a weak reason for the ending. And I can go into more if I can actually discuss spoilers, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone because it's such a good movie. I've seen it twice, and I enjoyed it. But I mean, yeah, you're right. The music was fantastic. I really actually appreciated the music more in IMAX. The first time I saw it was not IMAX. Second time in IMAX. I mean, obviously the visual stuff is the main thing with IMAX, but the sound and just the music was a lot richer in IMAX, and I really enjoyed the music a lot more the second go around. The car chases were fantastic. I was actually getting giddy. I mean, as you guys know, I'm a huge Aston Martin fan as well. So not only the awesome chase with the DB5, but even just a little bit of screen time the DBS Superleggera got, I was really giddy with that whole movie. The whole movie was just such a fun ride. But yeah, the ending, I was really, really upset about that. But anyway, we'll move on here. I could go on for 2 hours alone just talking about the new 007 movie, but I absolutely loved it. It was a really fun ride, even with the bittersweet ending. But anyway, so Nathan says, hey Matt, longtime viewer here. My first vid of yours I saw on the 04 STI review back when you were a Super Works fan. Yeah, and that was like one of the early reviews as well. So thanks for being a fan for so long. That's awesome. That was a fun one. And it's kind of crazy how far the channel has come. And I'm actually going to be coming up here. It's been about 9 years now. So next fall will be 10 years I've been doing car reviews. And I'm thinking about doing some like look back videos this winter. If I have a few scheduling breaks where I don't have a week to post a car review or something, I may do some look backs. If I have some fun ideas on how to revisit some of the old reviews and stuff. So I'm gonna possibly do that if time permits and the scheduling permits. Have a few fun little creative out of the box ideas here to try out this winter. So David says, do you think Subaru will ruin the STI as well? it seems like it keeps going back and forth. Some rumors I've seen say it will have the body cladding, others say that it won't, or that'll have less of it. I don't know. I've learned, especially in the past few years here, to kind of leave your expectations at the door when it comes to the anything from Subaru. Honestly, I was really pleasantly surprised with just how good the new BRZ was, and the fact there even was a new BRZ. So Subaru does do a lot of really great stuff. And I mean, I haven't driven the new WRX yet. It might drive fantastic as long as you can get over the looks. I just don't know. But as far as the STI, I hope that they come out swinging and it's fantastic. There was a sketchy report saying it may actually have a dual clutch. I still find that very hard to believe, considering it would be only for that car. And Subaru doesn't seem very interested in their performance stuff much anymore. But we'll see. I honestly flip a coin, David. I don't know. Uh, it's honestly, it's not a hard formula. Like, it really isn't hard to make WRX fans happy. Like, seriously, like it's the easiest thing. Like, everything in the car world follows a pretty similar type of pattern. I've noticed this with following car news for the past 15 years or whatever, where you bump up the power a little bit, you make it look a little bit more sporty, or a little bit more aggressive or modern, or whatever the case is. You improve the interior and stuff. You just notch everything up a little bit more, and just evolve the car, and that's it. I don't know why Subaru always flips the script and tries to get everyone all rattled for no reason. But yeah, I'd love to be a product planner. I'm sure a lot of my ideas actually aren't realistic or something, but it just seems like I just don't know. The fact that the WRX has more body cladding than a Subaru Crosstrek, just I don't know. And the funny thing, sorry, I will quit this rant quickly, but the one thing that it boggles my mind is, like, it's not like it's just like one person that makes a mistake or something. It's like there's an entire boardroom of people that all are like, yes, that looks amazing. This is a great idea. And then it goes through all kinds of other, steps of approvals and approvals and approvals again from various divisions. And everyone unanimously has to give it a thumbs up and say, this is awesome. This is what we're going to do. And so it'd be a little bit easier to understand if it was just like one person. I mean, you could have the same complaint with BMW with their front ends now, which are crazy, with the buck teeth on the M3 and stuff. Like, it wasn't just like that one designer that's like, hey, let's do this. It's like that one designer pitched it to a boardroom of people who are all like, yeah, that looks awesome. And then it continues on and on and on. And everyone is giving this a thumbs up. And either everyone's too scared to actually have a dissenting opinion, or everyone truly thinks it's all a good idea. But it's just kind of strange how some of these things get so far, and that even goes beyond cars. It goes to commercials that are stupid on TV, that it's like, who approved that? But it's like not only just one person, but like tons and tons of people approve most of the terrible decisions you see out there in the world, regardless of what they are. It's kind of mind-boggling. Anyway, moving on here. Pez says, so Matt, when are you coming down to Tennessee/North Carolina to let me show you the tail of the dragon? Very excited about the 400Z. My mom owned a new 1972 40Z when I was a toddler. That's awesome. What a sweet car to grow up with. I'd love to do Tail of the Dragon someday. That still is a bucket list thing. I actually got close to doing it. I think it was actually, I was going to do it like in the spring of 2020, and then COVID hit, and that kind of wiped that out. But I was actually, like, we had plans with me and a few other YouTubers to go down and do Tail of the Dragon as well, and do some subscriber meetups and stuff like that. And, so that never happened. We haven't found a way to do that again, or, reschedule something yet. So hopefully someday. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do so many more adventures in the Bullet as well. It's a little bit tough though now, especially now that we have our daughter. I'm a little bit more hesitant to leave the house, and I want to just, stay home as much as possible. So like, even going forward, I'll be a little bit more picky with press trips and stuff like that. If it's a vehicle that I know very few people are going to care about, I'm just going to pass on the trip, even if it is a good opportunity, but I will, still travel for the really good ones. But yeah, I love being at home with our daughter. She's the greatest thing ever. And it's just so much fun to be hanging out with her. And with the press cars, I get everything delivered right to the driveway, and I don't really have to go out too much anyway. But anyway, Antoine Lee Thomas says, did you hear that Mazda's Skyactiv X is finally coming, and that the first car they're putting it in is the next gen Miata? I did hear that. Yeah. And I think one or two people in the weekly update comment section were talking about that as well. And I hope that's actually true. I think that was just a report that I believe Autocar did. I could be wrong. But it sounded like I kind of discounted the report because one, it was focused on Europe, and two, I just every time that the Sky Active thing comes up here in the States, Moz is like, yeah, we're bringing it. And then they're like, actually, we're not, because it doesn't really seem to have a huge improvement in fuel economy and a few other things. So I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant to believe that report, and I would love to see them, keep the Miata nice and simple and light. And I think they will. Mazda is very protective of it. But what they do with it, I still don't know 100%. It could honestly even just be a reskinning of the ND. I mean, the mechanicals are fantastic, and if they sell few enough of them that doesn't really hurt their fleet emissions average, then they could potentially just skip the whole hybrid thing with it still, just continue on with it because they're not selling that many of them, and they'll be fine. So I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing. I think all the reports were saying like 2024 still for that. So we still have about a year or two before we actually know what they do, if they actually keep with that timeline. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with the Miata. But I love the current ones still. I think they're fantastic. All right. Rob says, Matt, you really need to get over the CVT rant. Yeah, the CVT is a whole nother thing I could go into, but I won't go into it again. But yeah. And Margus says, would you ever buy a German car? So my wife leases German vehicles. So this is her second C300 of this generation that she's had. And they're fantastic cars to lease. Just from my experience with working at used car dealerships that specialized in old German vehicles, they just have a lot of electrical gremlins. And that's something that, especially that combined with the very expensive dealer maintenances and, all the parts that are expensive on German vehicles, I would never own an old German vehicle or anything that's honestly older than 5 years old, which is why, I think they're great to lease, and I think they build them for leases. I think, they really build, especially the 3 Series, the C-Class, stuff like that. They're built for the business people that lease them and, do that every 3 years and stuff. That's really what I think they're built for these days. I think they're still quality products. It's just that you have to have a high tolerance for unreliability, high maintenance costs, high repair costs. If you're okay with that, go for it. But I think that's why the German vehicles depreciate so fast, and why, a $55,000, fully loaded C-Class is then worth, 35 in 3 years. Like, they drop so fast, and there's a reason why, because it's very expensive to keep them on the road versus a Lexus or something like that, which, lasts forever, is cheaper to, service, requires less servicing and all that. And that's why, so I think honestly, if you're ever wondering about a car brand, look at their resale values. If they drop super fast, there's usually a good reason why. Because if they were, something everyone wanted, then they would hold their value better. But anyway, Luke, thank you so much for another super chat here. He says, my '06 Camry is at 99,930 miles. I'm so scared for it to hit 100K. In my mind, 100,000 miles makes vehicle old. Yeah, but honestly, with something like a Camry, I mean, that's kind of just getting started, right? I mean, they go hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles. And I actually, on Facebook, I follow a group or a page. It's called like Mileage Impossible or something, and it's just people that are showing off their insanely high mileage vehicles, which is like a really fascinating thing to me. And I mean, there's Camrys, even like your generation, the '06 Camrys that are 400,000 miles, no issues. So yeah, I don't think that really makes it old. Honestly, I think the thing that makes vehicles feel old, at least to me, is whenever the radio and stuff like that starts getting dated. Then it's like, oh man, I gotta have a phone mount or whatever, for those older vehicles. That's the thing that makes them feel dated. But I think 100,000 miles is great. That's awesome. And keep rolling the miles on. I'm sure it'll be good for a good long while. So Oliver says, have you seen the renderings of a new Toyota MR2? It looks awesome. I have seen some of the renderings. Obviously, they're very extreme and a little unrealistic, but I just hope that they do it. I think that'd be awesome. I think Toyota's leadership, they're run by real car people that really enjoy racing and stuff. So I think that if there were ever a time for another MR2 to happen, this is kind of that time, because I think this is also the time where a lot of car companies are feeling justified to do the crazy stuff for one last hurrah, because they know the electric stuff's coming. So, it's like, well, if we don't do an MR2 now, it's going to be an electric skateboard thing in 10 years if we ever did it back, in 10 years from now. So I think, having these companies feel that pressure, I think is going to push through some really sweet stuff here in the next few years. Kind of like how Lotus is doing, and a few others where they're like, this is our last sports car. We're going to make it awesome. And same thing with the Corvette Z06, that's going to be awesome before the E-Ray comes and the Zora and all those other things, which will be hybridized and all that. This Z06 is, I'm pretty sure, going to be the last simple, non-hybrid Corvette and, be like their last hurrah. And that's why they're going crazy and putting a race car engine in it instead of just kind of having more of the status quo and, taking things slowly. They're kind of going more extreme. And I think, so hopefully that means that we will see a new MR2. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm excited if they do. 09 Black Cobalt SS, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, is now the right time to sell a used car or get out of a loan of a car? I 100% think so. As long as you have a solid plan as far as what you're going to drive instead. We'll see. I think what I've been seeing is that the supply chain stuff in the car world should get better around like February or March, potentially. Who really knows, with everything going on. If there comes a new variant of COVID or something, we could be right back in square one pretty soon. But hopefully that doesn't happen and things actually do get better by, February or March. But if that is what ends up happening, then you can see these prices dropping really fast on a lot of these used cars. And so I think you have a little bit of time, but I think that, if I were you, I'd definitely try and get rid of it in the next 3 months or so, just to be on the safe side. Because, especially getting out of a loan, things like that, this is the time to do that. Just do not buy another used car, because that's the thing. Everyone that's buying a used car this year is overpaying, most likely. Everything is just priced way too high, and that bubble is going to pop once everything gets caught back up, and those prices are going to drop like rocks. So if you're going to buy a new car, you're going to be able to wait and not buy a car until things get back to normal, then go for it. But otherwise, hang on to it and just ride out this madness and all that. But if you're trying to get out of an upside down loan, that's definitely the way to do it, is get out now. And good luck with all that. I know that can be a tricky situation. Kyle, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, Matt, finally got my 2022 LT1 Camaro 2 weeks ago. Congrats. He says, more than welcome to review it once I hit the 1,000 mile break-in period. V8 power is addictive. I've been wanting to review the LT1 because Chevy hasn't had any in the press fleet. I've been asking ever since they did the little refresh on the Camaro. I've been asking for one, and they never have one in the press fleet. It's like GM is not interested in marketing the Camaro whatsoever anymore. It's kind of sad. So yes, I would love to take you up on that offer. I'm not sure where you're located, and we'll see. With things getting cold here, I might rather wait till the spring once we actually can have some good traction and stuff. But please send me an email. I have all of my contact info in the description on this video and every video. So either Facebook message, email, whatever, and we'll try and work that out. But I really appreciate the offer, and congrats again on getting the new Camaro. That's awesome. I'm glad someone's buying them because they're still fantastic cars. All right, so 09 Black Cobalt SS says LT1 seems like a good deal if you want a V8 Camaro for a decent price. 100% agree. It's a car that they should have done from the launch of this generation Camaro from the get-go. I think makes a lot of sense, and that's why I think Dodge has had so much success with the cheaper, slower RT Challenger V8s. It's people who want the V8 sound but don't have to have the fastest thing on the block. You sell them that, and they're happy as can be, and I think it's a great idea. Sean says, have you reviewed the auto in the new 86? I have not, but I did drive the auto in the new BRZ, which is the same basically. So if you're curious about my thoughts on the auto, definitely check out the BRZ review where I talk about it in pretty good detail there. I still think the auto is only a decent choice if you're sitting in grueling stop and go traffic a lot. If you have some type of reason why you can't drive a manual, or, it just doesn't fit your lifestyle. If you share a vehicle with a spouse that can't drive a manual or whatever the case is, then, it still is better than not having an 86 because you still get all the great handling, still get all the great power and all that. It's just a good bit less fun, in my opinion, with the automatic, but still a very fun little sports car. Still would recommend it. But all right. Fastline says, Matt, I'm only 15 years old and my mom says she wants my first vehicle to be a truck. Should I get a 2022 Ram 1500 Limited? Also going to give me confidence to do my audition. I'm not sure what audition you're talking about, but good luck with the audition. If you mean maybe your driving test, that depends on your state. And PA is really tough because you have to parallel park and stuff, and it's a little bit more challenging than other states that literally like you just do like a circle around the block and they're like, here you go, and it's like super easy. But if you're in another country, then it's extra hard. But here in the States, we have it pretty easily. Anyway, as far as trucks, so that'll make it a lot harder to park as a new driver. That's one thing as a new driver is trying to gauge how much room you have and stuff is really tough. And so the larger the vehicle you're in, the harder that is. But if you have to get a truck, I'd say yes, the new Ram is the best truck out there, in my opinion, from a smoothness standpoint, from a luxury standpoint, a value standpoint. I really love the new Rams. So I think that's, yeah, definitely a solid choice. And Smile Per Mile says, yeah, I saw the Topher's POV video on the Auto GR86, and it looked like the downshifts for hard braking still seemed a bit laggy. Yeah, downshifts are a little bit laggy. Upshifts are a little disconnected. It's the same experience as before, really. I mean, they said they improved it a tiny bit, but it's not an appreciable amount of improvement. It's, it's just, yeah, it's not great. But they stuck with the old 6-speed automatic and stuff. I wish they would have maybe put a newer thing in, like they could have done the 8-speed from the Lexus IS or something else. It's a little bit better, but instead it's still that good old 6-speed. So we have Donald J. Trump says, what do you think about the new Broncos having all the hardtop issues? Yeah, I'm not sure why they've been having so many issues. I mean, obviously the whole supply chain thing is so screwed up with everything in the car world right now, but I'm not sure why the Broncos are having that issue, but it sounds like they're slowly getting caught up and trying to, remedy that issue. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's just one of those things. Maybe they did try and rush it a little bit to market because they had such demand and they want to just get them out there. But yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out for Ford. Emmanuel says, what's your opinion on Mazda pushing more towards a luxury brand with their upcoming models? I'm going to say that it's all going to come down to how they price it, because I think, we've seen this kind of thing before where there's been either brands or there's been sub brands or, just car models in general where they try and push up market. It usually fails, because the thing with branding is it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. A lot of the stuff with branding is just a mental marketing image kind of thing. And oftentimes there isn't much substance behind that brand awareness, and there isn't a good reason why people think the way they do about one brand or another. It could be anecdotal stuff with some people, other people, it's just stuff they heard or whatever. But, so I think if Mazda does the value luxury play, which is kind of what they've been doing currently, and I think that's why Mazda's had the success that they've had in the past few years, because they're like, hey, this is priced the same as a RAV4, but this CX-5 feels a lot more luxurious inside than a RAV4. It's quieter inside, all these things, and so that's why the CX-5 has been very popular. And if they try and go too far with that, though, and say, okay, so now the starting price for a CX-5 is 40 grand, and we're competing with an Audi Q5, then their sales are just going to go straight down. I don't care how gorgeous they look. I don't care, what they do. It's all going to come down to that pricing. Even if they do have straight 6 engines and, rear-based all-wheel drive systems and stuff, like the average consumer that's buying a CX-5, they do not care. They don't even know what that means. So, it's only going to be the very, very tiny niche of us people who actually appreciate all those things and understand the better driving dynamics of a rear-wheel drive-based all-wheel drive system. But for the average consumer, which is the mass market, they don't understand that. They don't appreciate that. They don't care. They just say, oh, does it have an all-wheel drive badge on the back? Cool, that's what I want. And, it's as simple as that. So, I think Mazda needs to be very careful with, how intensely they go with that whole upmarket push. But we'll see how it plays out for them. I do wish them the best. I think Mazda is a great company. They've been having the fantastic, just the Consumer Report stuff, the reliability ratings and everything. I mean, they are at the top of the pack now. And I recommend Mazdas to a lot of people, friends, family, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they're fantastic, but hopefully they don't take themselves too seriously and think they can start charging 50 grand for Mazdas. If they do, then yeah, I think they're going to be in a not great situation in a few years if that's what they do, but we'll see. Hopefully they're smarter than that and they know not to, price themselves too high. Jersey Boy Greaser says, opinion on the new Tundra. I honestly hate it, even though it will probably be a reliable truck. I haven't, driven one yet. I will be hopefully getting one to review here either at the very end of this year or early next year. Um, I don't mind the styling. I think it's Toyota, so it's a little bit out there, but I think that, it's not so bad that it's going to upset a lot of people. I mean, obviously, if you're someone who likes the more traditional styling of the other trucks, I don't think, that that's going to, pull anyone towards the Tundra, but I think the people who love the Tundra, I think that they'll, be okay with the new one most likely. I know a lot of people are upset, that doesn't have a V8 and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't know. I think it should be a good truck. I'm gonna have to wait till I drive it and all that. But the reliability thing, though, is also another thing that I know that it's a twin turbo V6 from Toyota, and it's been proven a little bit the Lexus. But still, the more you add the turbos and stuff, the more moving parts you have, and more points of failure that are potentially there. So we'll see. I mean, you have the GMs with their V8s and stuff that run forever, and even the Ford V8 and stuff. So you have some very proven V8s there. Same thing with the Ram. That's a very solid V8. So I don't know. Maybe Toyota will lose a few customers there by not offering a V8 anymore. But otherwise, I think, it should be a pretty solid truck. Dan says, Matt, what do you think, or do you think you'll ever buy the Rivion truck? What do you think about the vehicle? I think they're really cool. I never am going to have a need for a truck. I have no interest in trucks personally, so I will never buy any truck, I don't think. The Rivion one's really sweet. It'd be probably towards the top of my list if I had endless money and needed a truck. Although I'd just buy a Ram TRX if I actually needed a truck and had endless money. That's a little cliff notes there. Yeah, I would not go for anything other than a T-Rex. But the Rivions seem really cool. I'm really impressed with what the Rivion's been doing. I'd love to review them someday. But yeah, I mean, I'm just impressed that they've actually brought it to market. It seemed to be really durable, really strong. I actually, saw some of the testing that they did in Long Way Down, I believe is the one that or maybe it was Long Way Up. One of those series, where they had the Rivions alongside the electric motorcycles that they were riding. It was a really cool series. And so it seems like they've done a lot of testing with the Rivions, which is great. And I should hopefully make it a little bit more durable and reliable than like the Tesla truck, which is endlessly delayed and seems like they're just driving around parking lots and don't do much more than that. But also, the one and only Slick Rick says, when is the new redesigned Mustang coming out? 2023. So yeah, I've been talking about this in the past few weekly updates as we've gotten a little bit more info that's trickled out on that. It still seems like the newest intel is that it is going to be a 2023 model year vehicle. So potentially it'll debut sometime next year. The rumors are still a little bit all over the place. But like I just covered on Friday's weekly update, it sounds like there will be some hybridization stuff, either as an option or standard. We'll have to see how that whole thing goes. But it sounds like there is some type of hybrid actually coming, and the new Mustang should come next year at some point. But yeah, it's I'll be very curious to see what they do with the styling and stuff too. So we haven't seen any kind of spy mules or any kind of spy shots or anything. So this is honestly, and I followed the S550s whenever they were through their prototype stages and stuff, and I was seeing the spy shots out on the road and all that. This is now I guess 7 years ago or something, and there was a lot more sooner. And so this one they've really either kept a lid on it really well, and they've only run the prototypes at night, or they've done something to hide them, or they're behind schedule. It's going to be one or the other, but it's kind of interesting. Usually we have some solid speculation at this point, and it still is pretty thin, so we'll see how that plays out. And so we have Woo Daniel says, any idea to pick between Jaguar E-Type or Ferrari 308 GTS? I would go E-Type because it's just more beautiful, a little more classic. You can't go wrong with either one, I guess. The 308 GTS is cool, but not nearly as cool as an E-Type in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for the question. Boost331 says, any idea when the media gets to drive the new WRX? I believe so. I haven't been invited to it yet. Sometimes Subaru invites me last minute on stuff, so I'm not sure. But I believe some people were saying it was going to be sometime before the end of this year. But I could be wrong. I think I remember someone mentioning something. But I don't have any official info on that though. But I thought, yeah, I thought it was going to be sometime this fall, but I could be wrong. Luke, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, with the new Maverick and Santa Cruz, I think Subaru needs to bring back the Baja, and Toyota maybe the T100 and GM the S10. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know why everyone's been sitting around. Like, I mean, the smaller truck segment's really been heating up, and I mean, the Maverick now especially should really drive that point home to everybody. Like, hey, maybe we should do this. I mean, Dodge has been dragging their feet on doing a new Dakota for years, and it's like, what are you waiting for? Like, I mean, even GM and Ford have had their midsize trucks for a while here, and why Ram has not had something smaller than the 1500 blows my mind. But you know I think, yes, if Subaru wanted to be cool, bring the Baja back. I think that'd be fantastic. They could even use a larger vehicle than last time. So instead of basing it on the Outback, base it on the Ascent, and have it be nice and big, since that's what Americans love, and have a bigger bed on the back of it. S10 would be great from GM. The T100 would be cool too. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I really hope that the Maverick really sends a message and others try and do something like that. Because again, truck prices are really getting insane. I mean, they've been insane for a few years now, but it's like it's so unrealistic. Like, I don't know who's buying all these $80,000 trucks, but I hope that they do bring the affordability back to trucks here at some of those smaller ones that are still actually capable. That'd be nice. But thank you again for the super chat. Craig says, hey Matt, how does the Model 3 performance ride quality compare to a Mustang GT? So it's been a few years since I've been in a Model 3, so I don't have the freshest memory on that. But I would say the Model 3, the seats are a lot more comfortable and soft, and that actually absorbs a lot more of the ride and stuff. I think if you're talking about a regular Mustang GT without the performance package with its stiffer suspension, I would say that the Model 3 is maybe a tiny bit tighter and a tiny bit stiffer than the Mustang, which definitely feels a little more floaty. So I'd say that honestly, the Model 3 feels a little bit sportier as far as its suspension setup, but it still is a very comfortable ride. Definitely very daily drivable, even with the bigger wheels on the performance version that I reviewed, several years back. So that's a little bit of insight there. Hopefully that helps you a little bit. So we have Zachary Jones says, hey Matt, my mom jumped from a 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix to a 2015 Kia Sorento LX. What are your thoughts on the second generation Sorento? I believe I reviewed one right before they ended that generation of them. So maybe I did like a 2019 review. So all of my thoughts, I believe they're pretty similar across that generation. They did some nice improvements, I think, to the interior and the exterior in those later years, but if you want to hear, my thoughts on how it drives and stuff, you can see that in that video. But the Sorrentos, I think, have always been a really solid value. For someone who needs, a third row in a pinch, they were great for that. And it's a very solid vehicle. All those Kias have that long warranty, and it's great, that they have that. Just again, that affordability factor, and it's a solid little car. Dan, thank you so much for the question here. He says, really hope that the new Integra lives up to all the hype. Yeah, it's all over the place with where the Integra could go, and I covered that in the weekly update as well. I believe there was someone who commented on one of my weekly updates though recently and said they've seen the new Integra. So I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Anyone can say anything in a comment, but they said they saw the new Integra and it'll be a lot more exciting than people are expecting. Take it for what it's worth, but I hope that it is awesome. I hope that it's everything that everyone's hoping it's going to be. I mean, obviously it's already disappointed people by being a 4-door. Everyone, a bunch of people wanted a 2-door. No one buys 2-doors anymore. So that's an unrealistic expectation. But I think, hopefully as like a 4-door hatch, if they give it at least SI power or better, hopefully it will do well. Again, it comes down to pricing though. If they try and charge super high prices for them, forget about it. It's going to flop. But if it actually is priced well, I think it'll be a really cool little thing. And again, it's all about affordability. I think we really need to get back to affordable vehicles with these new car transaction prices getting crazy. I think, what was it like last month? The average transaction price was in the 40s, like 45,000 or something. Like even with inflation, like 45 grand is really crazy for the average person to buy. And this again goes back to like this whole bubble, both in the used car world and the new car world, with everyone buying way more car than they probably can afford. It's going to be like the housing crisis in '08, I think, eventually, if we keep going with these insane prices and all that. But yeah. Anyway, so we have JVet01 says, would you rather have the new 2022 Civic Si or the new GR86? GR86, because I love rear-wheel drive, because it's way faster than a Civic Si now. I mean, the new Civic Si seems really solid too. I love the new Civic in general, and so the Si should just be even better. But I would definitely have the GR86 for sure. We have 09 Black Cobalt SS says, I saw Maverick for 46 online at a dealer. I had to laugh at that. Yeah, I mean, I think what a loaded Maverick typically, I think they go for like 43 or 44. So I guess that's with dealer markup or a bunch of other accessories or something. But yeah, I actually saw my first Maverick on the road a few days ago, which was kind of exciting. Because I honestly, I don't think I've actually ever seen one in person before, because I was not on any of the launch events or anything like that. And I haven't been to any auto shows. So yeah, that was actually my first time seeing one in real life. And I'm excited for them. They're going to be everywhere by this time next year, as long as Ford dealers, again, don't screw it up and try and, price gouge them and, make everyone annoyed in the meantime. But yeah, it's crazy with these dealers, man. I'm telling you, once all these bubbles burst and then, things get back to normal, all these dealers are going to be crying about how, oh, we have to make money. We have to be profitable. And a lot of people often forget that these dealers, they'll be the first sign of distress. They're, woe is me. But then anytime things are going their way, they have no sympathy for anybody else. And they are just squeezing everyone for every penny they can. Oh, I could do a whole rant on dealerships, because I think that's the biggest problem a lot of OEMs even have with selling new cars. I think a lot of them would love to get rid of dealers too, because it kills all the hype on the Bronco. And then it's like, well, you can't get one unless you want to spend tons of money over a sticker. It's like, all right, forget it. I'll just go buy a Wrangler that's sitting on the lot. And Jeep's laughing all the way to the bank because the Ford dealers are being dumb, and that's not Ford's fault. Ford makes an awesome product, whether it's the Maverick, the Bronco, whatever, even Mach-E's they were marking up for a while, GT500, all that stuff. It's like you build this awesome car, and then all the product planners do a really good job pricing it so that it's really affordable, or it's, really competitively priced. But then it makes no difference, because then the dealers just throw that right out the window and charge whatever they feel like charging for it. And if I was someone that worked at a car company and I worked really hard to get a car priced really well, and then it just gets ruined by dealers, I would be livid. That would be so annoying. So anyway, moving on here. TJ Hammersland says, Halloween live and no costume. I mentioned at the very beginning, I am wearing my Tony Stark arc reactor shirt here that I bought back when the original Iron Man came out. So this shirt's probably 13 or 14 years old. But little light up thing there. So that was my feeble attempt at a costume here for Halloween. But yeah, sorry, it's nothing more exciting. Deshaun Lavelle says, what do you think about the 2023 Cadillac Escalade V? Well, it's just been speculation, as of right now. So I'm hoping that, if they do something sweet with it, put a supercharger on it, give it maybe like the motor from the ZL1 Camaro or something, that could be fun. We'll see what they do with the V version of the Escalade. It's kind of a funny thing, because it's going to, not handle well, because it's going to be an enormous SUV. But hey, again, going with those rising prices, everyone loves paying 120 grand for, their SUVs these days. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll sell tons of them, but we'll see what they end up doing. I know they have kind of confirmed they will be doing V stuff with the SUVs some more. So we'll have to see, that's probably the next thing coming here soon. But yeah, very, very interesting there. Brianna says, how often do people buy cars? I think it honestly will depend on your area and country and stuff like that. But as far as the national average here in the States, the average age of the vehicle on the road is 12 years or so. So that means, there's obviously people that have newer cars, some that have older, but 12 years is the average age of the car on the road right now. And so, so maybe that's one thing, is people are willing to spend a little bit more, because maybe cars are lasting longer these days. So they're feeling comfortable to, buy a little bit more expensive, but they know that it's going to last them, 10 years or more. So they stick around with it. But, Yeah, I don't know. At least in my area, it seems like people have pretty new cars and they, turn them over pretty quick. It's pretty rare that I even see anything that's earlier than 2010 these days. And when I do, I'm like, oh, interesting. There's like a car from 2006. I don't see those too often, but I know other areas are different. So it all just kind of depends. Um, Johanna says, any thought on the new Range Rover? I really like it. I really like them too. I think it's a really cool look. Yeah, I know a lot of people are a little iffy about the back end and stuff, but I think it looks great. Um, I think my only like hesitation with any Land Rover product is reliability, which I know they're supposedly going to be working on, but the electrical gremlins in those Range Rovers can be, numerous. So that's always my hesitation with recommending Land Rovers. But they're sweet vehicles, and I love what they've done with the new Range Rover for sure. Um, and so we have Zachary says, "Hey Matt, my mom has the second generation Kia Sorento that ran from 2011 to 2015. The one you reviewed was 2016 to 2020. Gotcha. I didn't remember when those generations were cut off. I've never driven that generation Sorento then, so I have no opinion on it honestly, or no frame of reference as far as what it's like. But again, usually even the older Kias are pretty solid little vehicles, and so should be a vehicle that hopefully will last your mom a good long while. So that's great. And Fastline says, want to talk about the Ferrari you reviewed not too long ago. I mean, all of my thoughts are in the review, but it was a review I will not forget for a long time. It was a fantastically fun thing to review, that 458 Spider, and hopefully I'll do more Ferraris in the future. But that's really like peak Ferrari in my opinion in a lot of ways, at least for the V8 versions of the Ferraris. I think that 458, that screaming engine, is fantastic, and I think honestly this new Corvette Z06 is like the spiritual successor to the 458 and the 458 Speciale even, because then Ferrari did the turbo stuff and kind of got a little bit less exciting. And so Antoine says, you've been doing YouTube car reviews for almost a decade, if not a decade already. You're still at 431,000 subscribers. I feel you should be double that. Is something holding more subs back? I think really what it is just competition has gotten a lot more intense. I've noticed that both with views and with subscribers and stuff. My subscribers growth has definitely slowed down a lot. And I think it's just that there's a lot more options. When I started, almost 10 years ago now, there wasn't a whole lot. It was like me, Saab Kyle, Motor Trend. And I mean, there were a few others out there. It's not like I was the OG or anything, but, I think that you just had less choices. So it's like, well, I wanted to see a review on a, 2011 Infiniti G37. Well, guess what? Matt's like one of 3 people that reviewed it. So I'm going to watch Matt's review, whether or not it has a fancy thumbnail, whether or not you even like me. It's just like, I want to know about this car. This guy's the other one that has a video on it. So I'm going to watch it. And that's why a lot of my older reviews have millions of views on them. And, as things progressed, you had a lot more people come onto the scene in the past few years here that do top-notch work with, cinema-worthy videography, and you have hosts that are, more exciting, funnier, or you have, the whole teammate thing of having, 2 people in the car talking, giving counterpoints and stuff, which has, really been a thing that people have really enjoyed. And, so I haven't evolved to do those things. I haven't, been able to get the channels, the production value that a lot of the other channels out there are, because I'm self-taught. I'm a one-man crew, and I'm kind of just doing everything myself, versus some of these other channels which have an actual videographer or one of the people that actually knows, videography or went to school for it, things like that. Just kind of gives them a leg up in that way. So I think that that's kind of my challenge is, just trying to evolve in the ways that I can. And it's a struggle for sure. And I think that it's also a very crowded space. So not only, even if I was doing, the best reviews on YouTube, which I honestly don't think I do. I think there's a lot that do some really fantastic quality videos out there. But, even if I was, the best car reviewer on YouTube, it still just comes down to, just less people seeing that stuff, because you have way more options out there. And so whenever you have, more people eating into that pot, you're going to get a smaller portion of that pie, and so that's kind of how it just ends up being, that it's just everyone gets a little bit less views the more people that come onto the scene. So I mean, it's great because you have more people giving their opinions and stuff like that. Like, sure, I wish I got the views that I used to get on my reviews, but I'm just grateful I'm able to still do this full time. We'll see how long it lasts. I mean, YouTube's a very new thing, as a career, especially, and so, I'm not sure how long this will last, maybe, it could totally, tank and next year could be my last year reviewing cars, or it could continue on for another 10 years or 50 years, or who knows. So, um, it's still kind of the Wild West as far as, YouTube and how to stay alive on YouTube. But like anything with the internet, it's very hard to stay relevant, and it's tough. So yeah, that's not only my challenge, it's a lot of people's challenges. I know a lot of other YouTubers that I know and talk to are also burned out because it's also part of it is YouTube, and they make it harder with the algorithm and stuff. It used to be that you could just put out quality content and your subscribers would see it, but now it's like the sub feed doesn't really matter. It's all about recommendations, and people are also changing their viewing habits. A lot of people just aren't even on YouTube anymore because they're just on TikTok or Reels or stuff like that, and they don't have an attention span to watch anything more than 30 seconds. So YouTube, when you see me post a 30-minute car review, it's like, man, when am I gonna have time to watch a 30-minute car review? And so there's some of that I think eats into it as well, because people's appetites are changing. And I am going to probably be doing more mini reviews in Reels and stuff like that. It's one of the things I'm going to try and work on this winter, because I recognize a lot of people are really busy. I'm really busy as well. I very rarely even have time to sit down and watch a 30-minute review myself. So I think doing more digestible little, shorter videos. And I'm also going to try and bring my reviews down to a shorter length, because I think what I've noticed over the past, especially the past year or two, is all the successful channels out there, most of them don't go into the detail that I go into. And I know a lot of people really enjoy the detail that I go into, but I get that it can be a little much. And so, even with the interior reviews, like, I don't think I need to show every feature anymore or do every little thing like I used to. So I think that's one of the things I'm going to really try and change with my reviews, especially going into next year, is really scale them down. Be shorter, be more concise, be less, verbose with all of my thoughts, and just give you the highlights, make it quick, make it simple, snappy, say, here's my few thoughts on the interior, and just kind of cut back, because I think that there's not a lot of interest in all the detail that I used to do in my reviews. I love going into that detail, and I know some of you enjoy that as well, but I think that it just seems like people don't appreciate a 30-minute deep dive into something anymore. So I'm going to definitely cut back big time with all that stuff. And yeah, '09 Black Cobalt SS is saying shorts as well. Yeah, I'll be also posting that stuff on YouTube Shorts. I don't know if YouTube Shorts is ever going to take off. I think it's just like they're doing it because everyone else is. But if that does, take off, then that's something I'll, invest a little bit more in as well. But yeah, so that's a little preview for those of you here on the live stream as far as, how I might be kind of changing the videos here going forward. But I think I missed Luke's super chat here. So thank you, Luke, for another super chat. He says, I'm upset that the new SI lost horsepower. I was hoping for at least 10 horsepower gain at minimum. Yeah, you and me both. I was at least hoping for a carryover. I mean, to actually lose horsepower. I know that they say the power band's wider and stuff, but I don't know why they had to choose. Like, why? Okay, yes, you want to make the power band wider. Great. Same thing with the WRX. You want to make the power band wider. Sounds good. But why does that stop you from adding horsepower? Like, you can make changes to do both. It's not like it's a one thing or the other type of thing. I mean, tuners have been doing this with that same motor in the SI for a while now. You can do more horsepower and they don't blow up immediately. Like, it's not, I don't know. Maybe it's an emissions thing. Maybe it's a cost cutting thing. I'm not sure what the deal is with the way Honda's done that, and Subaru and stuff. I think with Honda, though, they honestly just probably don't feel like they need to do more power. They've never chased horsepower with the Civic Si. It's always been 200 horsepower. It's always been enough for people. It's been fine. They keep it nice and cheap, and no one really complains too much. And everyone who does, they have a healthy aftermarket, and everyone that wants to go crazy can go crazy and, build them up how they want. So, maybe it's just that, it's just there's not a lot of competition or reason for them to boost the power in it. And it also, I think they kind of want to stick to the ethos of the Civic Si of, just having that fun to drive 200 horsepower sport compact type of thing, and not turn it into some monster, horsepower type of thing. But I mean, I think Volkswagen's had success with upping the horsepower in the GTI and stuff. So, again, I don't think they have to stick to, the same old, but it is what it is. But thank you again for the super chat. But yeah, I was definitely disappointed by that as well. So Little Roller says, what's the best car greater than 2010 you have driven thus far? The best car. That's really tough. I mean, I don't even know if I could pick one car as like the best car I've driven in the past 10 years. I mean, the Ferrari is definitely up there as one of the top vehicles for sure. I'd have to think long and hard about that one and really like write down like all the vehicles I've actually driven in the past 10 years and try and figure it out. But I'd say the 458 Spider is definitely very close to the top, if not the top, probably in my mind. So Andrew Owen says, the new Corolla Cross is just arriving at the dealerships. Do you think that the all-wheel drive version will be reliable? Definitely. I mean, I don't see why it would be unreliable at all, because I mean, it's, a very straightforward all-wheel drive system. It's a very proven engine already with that new Corolla engine. I think it's going to be a solid little vehicle, especially, I mean, people that buy, especially the cheaper Toyotas, they definitely want that reliability. And it's also a global vehicle as well. So that's another reason why I think it'll be really reliable. It's not like it's something that's just for the American market or for people who, buy new cars every 5 years or something. I think it's going to be one, another Toyota that's really designed to last, just like the regular Corolla is. And so I think that's why they'll definitely be very reliable for sure. All right. So other questions here. Tim Brown says, hi, Matt. I didn't realize you were live today. YouTube did not tell me. Like I was talking about earlier with, the algorithm and YouTube and just them making it tough. YouTube is supposed to notify subscribers whenever I go live, I believe. And I guess they didn't do it for everybody, but it is what it is. So Overgrowth Society says, gotta make people laugh or relate to you to stand out nowadays. It's all entertainment at the end of the day. I agree with that. It definitely, does have that. I mean, that's why Top Gear was so insanely popular and why so many of these reviewers are. And I know I definitely have less humor in my stuff than I know a lot of other people do. I'm very like analytical, I guess, with my reviews, and I'm very like serious about them, because I honestly I'm doing them to try and provide a service, because I get messages from people that they're trying to figure out what car they want to buy, and that the videos really help them, and that's why I do this, is to help people. I know that the entertainment thing is also very important, and especially on YouTube, you're going to YouTube typically to be entertained, but I'm really doing it to try and help people and inform people and be helpful. And if I just wanted to slide around in a car for 10 minutes and have a big laugh, like that's great. But then to me, that makes the reviews more about me and less about the car. And it's for me, it's always about the car. I want to be in the background. I don't want to take the center stage. I want to just like here's the car, here's the features the car has, here's what the car is like, and then I give you that information to then decide if that fits what you want to do. That's why I don't do scores or ratings, or I think that it's a 10 out of 10, so you should think it's a 10 out of 10 too. Like, it's a 10 out of 10 for me, but you might hate it. It might not fit your life or whatever. So giving blanket ratings and things like that, and all that is just like a distraction, in my opinion. I would rather just be like, here's how it is, do with it as you want. If you like a car that's heavy and comfortable, here's the best one for you. If you want something that's feels like a go-kart, here's the best one for you for that, and I kind of just try and help people, just figure out what they want. But I know that, again, that's not the best way to views. And that's probably why my channel isn't doing as well as a lot of others out there, because it's, I'm very deadpan, I guess, with a lot of, how I do that. But hopefully it at least resonates with some of you. That's why you're here. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully it has helped some of you as well. Sean, thank you so much here for your super chat. He says, short fit idea, 5-second Beth reviews. Beth just stands in front of the car and says 2 or 3 quick things. Ugly headlights, roomy back seat. Yeah, I think Beth and I have actually been talking about this a lot, because I mean, this is something that, keeps coming up with, more and more people going to TikTok and things like that of, how do we do this stuff, quick and do these types of things and try and follow the trends a little bit. I really hate chasing fads because it's exhausting. And if you're not the first person on it, then it's usually a losing game as well. But I think that the short format videos are kind of here to stay for for a good while. So we are going to try and do some of that stuff. And I don't know about 5 seconds. We might do something a little bit longer than that, but that's something we're talking about doing here with the newer press cars that I'll be getting towards the end of this year here, is just doing little quick, highlight videos, for the short kind of format stuff. And it'll be something kind of like that. Yeah. Where, Beth and I will both give kind of our quick little thoughts and do something like that. Just for those people who just want the bullet points and that's it. Or just people who are wanting to be entertained about, here's the, 3 screens and the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Isn't it so cool? Or, just quick little things like that. We'll definitely be doing some more kind of, that kind of stuff in the future. Boost 331 says, spoiler alert, 2022 WRX makes 271 horsepower on 87 octane. I will be back to say I told you so after Subaru lets it out of the bag. Interesting. I guess that kind of makes sense, right? Because I think that that motor is tuned in the Ascent and stuff to do that amount of power on regular gas, right? The 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet. So I can see if that's a 87 octane, but maybe they want to underrate it, but like, it's all about marketing and how you present yourself. So if it does make more power on 93, why don't they lead with their best foot forward and say, hey, it makes 290 horsepower, get everyone excited. And then if you have to have a caveat of, oh, by the way, it's 271 on 87, anyone who cares about peak horsepower is not putting 87 in their car anyway, if your car is designed to do more than that, So kind of a weird thing if that is true. It wouldn't surprise me from Subaru, but that's an interesting little tidbit. Thanks for sharing that. And we'll keep on following that and see if they do revise the horsepower numbers for 93 or something. Seal Forever, thank you so much for the super chat. He says 2022 GT line Stinger or Sonata N-Line. I still have not driven a Sonata N-Line, so I cannot weigh in on that. I have driven the Kia K5 GT, which is mechanically the same. It's fantastic. It comes down to, do you want a front-wheel drive, torque steering kind of experience, or do you want a more sports car-like, rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive experience with the Stinger? I will actually be getting a Stinger GT line, the 2022, to review here. Actually, it's going to be my press car this coming week. I have a little bit of a backlog, so I won't be posting that review until I believe December 1st. But I will be giving my thoughts on the new, Stinger with the 2.5 T motor in it here in about a month or so, and I'm very excited to try that out. So stay tuned if you're curious. I will be reporting all my thoughts on that here in about a month or so. So 09 Black Cobalt SS says premium is a bad thing in marketing. That is true, but I think for performance vehicles, everyone's used to everything being rated for premium if it's a vehicle that can take it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you could argue, both ways. People are like, oh, I've put premium in it, but I think anyone who actually cares about making the peak horsepower will gladly pay the extra, 30 cents a gallon or whatever for premium. And, it's, because these are the same people that are spending, tons of money for performance parts and all that kind of stuff too. Bert Shackelford says, one of my auto industry contacts happens to be a retired GM executive. May I give him your contact info in regards to a press car Z06? Just to verify, is it the email address in the description? Yeah, that's my business email is in the description there. I appreciate the offer there. I thankfully actually have a very good relationship with Chevrolet. They already sent me 2 C8 Corvette press cars here over the past year. The one was even a convertible Corvette that I had in the middle of winter with snow tires on it, because the GM press fleet is that awesome that they sent that to me in the middle of winter last year. So I don't know if I'll be invited on the press launch. I know I did go to the C8 Corvette press launch as well. So they've been really good about hooking me up with invites and the opportunities there. So I think I'm good as far as that whole situation goes, but I haven't heard anything as far as when those, that press trip will be happening or when the press cars will be available. I'm guessing that'll be something towards, next summer there, but yeah, so I really appreciate that though. And if you can ever get any kind of info though from your GM executive friends, I'd always love to, get some tidbits for the weekly update, even if it is just speculation that's unconfirmed. It'd still be fun to kind of hear, what might be coming down the road a little bit. 09 Black Cobalt SS says, I love when YouTubers have backlogs so they can take breaks without having to cram and burn out. Yeah, it's definitely nice. Now with me, the backlog is it doesn't really help a whole lot. Like there are some times where if I don't have a press car for a week or two, it's nice to have a backlog so I still have content. But unfortunately for me, it hasn't enabled me to really take any breaks, because even if I'm taking a break from filming car reviews, I'm still sitting here editing for 12 hours a day, and it's draining. It's honestly more exhausting to be sitting in front of a computer than it is to actually be out on the road filming a review, in my opinion, at least. And so it'd be nice to take a break. Unfortunately, even though YouTube swears up and down that, oh, YouTubers can take breaks and we won't hurt their channel with that, I have seen with other channels, and even whenever I've taken a break in the past, whenever I have actually, not been able to work ahead enough to like go on a vacation or something, if I just didn't post for a little while, it definitely does seem to hurt the channel. And some of my other YouTuber buddies, whenever they took a break or cut down the amount of videos that they posted, it really hurt their channels. And so it's like, nope, got to keep feeding the beast. You got to keep the algorithm happy. And it's kind of sad, but the way that I feel about uploading on YouTube a lot of times is that it's like I'm walking or trying to run backwards on an escalator. So I'm like trying to get the end of an escalator when I'm going the wrong way on it. It's like I'm trying to like post more and more, and I'm trying to do better and better videos, but then the algorithm changes or they make things harder so that it makes it that much harder. And it's like it's not as much fun as it used to be. And all the competition certainly doesn't help, because it's like you work really hard on a video, it gets less views than it used to, all that kind of stuff. But I won't rant about YouTube anymore, because I know it's kind of a cry me a river kind of thing. I still have a dream job. I love doing what I do. It's so much fun whenever I'm actually out reviewing and testing the cars. But all the back end stuff is like any other job, where you have an annoying boss and you have your annoyances and stuff, and thankfully I don't have a boss. I work for myself, but just the algorithm is kind of my boss. I'm always trying to make it happy in order to get the videos pushed, because unfortunately people don't watch their videos from subscription feeds anymore. Most people don't sign up for notifications, so it's all about the recommendations and having fancy thumbnails. So we have Chris says, are you a dad yet? And Brianna's asking as well. Yeah, I actually do. We have our daughter that was born this past spring, and she is absolutely awesome. I love her to death. She is so much fun. And like I was talking about a little bit earlier, that's why I've actually been more selective about which press trips I go on, because I don't want to leave the house. I just love hanging out with her. And so the more reviews that I can do here just with the press cars that get dropped off to me and stuff, the happier I am, because I get to spend more time with the family, because she is just so much fun. And thank you, Brianna, for the congrats. So yep, it's a lot of fun, and anyone who's a parent, I'm sure, agrees and understands. But it's highly recommend, if you're ever on the fence about having a kid, I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Tu Chang, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, Matt roast session. It'll be a sad day when this kid's voice drops. That's the only thing keeping him interesting. Yeah, I especially in those older reviews, I definitely did have a lot more of a higher pitched voice, and it's kind of funny and also cringy to go back and watch some of my older reviews. I like to think I've come a long way in the past 9 or 10 years here. And it's kind of funny, but I appreciate the super chat. And I'm always down for a Matt roast. The more honest feedback, the better, because that's how I can improve the videos and improve myself. Thanks everyone else for the congrats. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's super, super awesome. And I'm very thankful. And Bert says, you are the only automotive channel I care to watch. Sure, I have Motor Trend, Winding Road, Everyday Driver, etc. in my feed, but I rarely watch them, although my wife thinks Johnny Lieberman is a hoot. Yeah, he's a funny guy. He's Motor Trend does great stuff. All those channels you mentioned are fantastic channels, and I have met the people behind a lot of them, and they're great, great people as well. So like I said, there's a lot of good different channels out there, and that's the thing, you guys are really spoiled for choice. There's so many good options out there these days, and that's why it's challenging to get views. Antoine says, instead of missing out on media drives, why not take Beth and your newborn daughter with you so that you're not missing anything? This way they're out and about and your newborn is traveling young. So typically with the press trips, they don't like paying for extra people. They will pay for a videographer sometimes, but it's something I would have to kick in my own money to bring Beth and the baby along. And it's also kind of tough to fly with a newborn, especially, baby that's really young. They have a very limited wake window, and you have to make sure that you have consistent naps and, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of stuff you got to bring and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, in the future, it'd be fun to kind of bring, Beth and the baby along in the future for, once they're older and stuff. If I can, swing it, I can, use some airline miles or something and bring them on some of them. That's something we'll probably do every once in a while in the future. But especially if I'm doing, 3 flights a month or something, it just doesn't make sense to have, the baby be constantly on an airplane and stuff. It's just a lot. But yeah, I definitely want to, have them kind of explore with me a little bit, because I go on all these fun trips to all these fun places, and there are some times where Beth's like, oh, it would have been cool, to come along, and so maybe we'll be able to get back to more of that in the future here. Tu Chang, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, Matt, let's turn down onto this back road. Beth, no, I'm not getting pregnant again. All right, well, now we're gonna keep this family friendly, but yeah. Yeah, that's the catchphrase that is going to go down in history here. I'm going to keep doing that until the channel is completely done. That's for sure. I can change a lot of other stuff on the channel, but I'm going to keep those signature things because I know a lot of you guys really enjoy those. Humza might have mispronounced your name. I'm sorry. It says, how's the transition been so far with your newborn? It's been great. Obviously the first couple of months they were a little bit tough with, sleeping and not getting a whole lot of it. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, she's been really easy to handle and deal with. And Beth's been super good as well with, doing such a good job with her so that I'm able to actually keep up the same amount of videos that I have been doing. So I haven't had to really cut back or anything. And so, yeah, it's great. And I love, being able to work from home here. So I'm able to help her out a little bit whenever she needs a break. And it's also just great to be able to kind of pop in and, while I'm eating lunch or something, I can kind of hang out with the baby for a little bit and then, get back to work. But it's great to, be able to have that flexibility for sure. Tim says, Doug DeMuro just recently did a review on the GR Yaris. I wonder if you could import it through Mexico. Maybe for a review, it'd be possible to, go somewhere else to do that. But as far as actually importing one to the States to drive and own, I think it's, the same thing as any of the other vehicles from other countries where they don't pass the standards from a legalization standpoint. So that's why, we have the 25-year rule where, all the GTRs and stuff that are coming over from Japan, once they're 25 years old, then it's, something you can bring over. But I think that, obviously you're going to have to wait for the GR Yaris, unfortunately. But it would be fun to review one for sure if I can ever make a trip to Mexico or somewhere else. That'd be really, really cool. So we have another question here. It says, hi, Matt, can you recommend 3 fun-to-drive large and mid-sized luxury SUVs? First one that jumps out to my mind is the Mercedes GLE, because that has, especially if you get the fancy suspension, I can't remember what they call that suspension, but like it's the e-motion body control or something like that. That is really sweet, because that one actually leans into corners like you're on a motorcycle or something. And that was a hilariously fun video to do with that GLE. That thing was so cool. So I'd say that's probably honestly my favorite pick in the midsize and larger luxury SUV segment. I think Mercedes does fantastic stuff. So I kind of prefer all of their vehicles. I haven't driven the new GLS, but that's another one that's very good if you're looking for a large SUV. But yeah, I'd say those are the standout ones. The X5 is also another very good driver. I'd say that the X5 I definitely like that and the GLE better than like a Q7. And Audi's kind of weird where they don't have something quite as large as the GLS and the X7, so Q5 or Q7 kind of bridges the gap there between those two. But yeah, I'd definitely go GLE Mercedes, I think, if you're looking for something in that segment. Hopefully that helps you. Lucas says, someone who works for Toyota posted a memo from his boss visiting their headquarters, and they mentioned that the GR Corolla is actually coming to the States. Yeah, I mean, they've had GR Hot Hatch teased on the future vehicles page on Toyota.com for over like a year now. So Toyota has said we're getting a GR Corolla. It's coming. And we'll see if it has the same stuff as the GR Yaris or not, but we just don't know when that's coming, because it's been forever. Hopefully it does come, relatively soon. But it's been total silence as far as any kind of Gr Corolla. So we'll see what they end up doing with that. So we have another question here. Says, when is Matt trading the Mustang in for a minivan? Not happening. The Bullet is a keeper unless something crazy happens and I have to sell it. But as far as anything within my control, Bullet is a keeper. It's sticking around. And as far as, family vehicle, we will be changing. So Beth's lease is up on her C300 here towards the middle of the spring of next year. So here in about 6 months or so, we'll be getting a new family vehicle, and pretty sure we have already figured out what it's going to be. We're still not 100%, but yeah, so we'll see. I may be doing a video series kind of leading up to what we decide. It's still a secret for now, but yeah, I think if we go the way that we're planning to go, I think it's going to be very interesting. Probably not what a lot of people are expecting, but I think it's going to be very cool. So that's all I'll say about that for now. But Tu Chang, thank you so much for another super chat here. He says, people, what are you going for Halloween? Matt, someone more successful, Chris Fix. Yeah, I mean, Chris Fix is awesome. I'm good friends with him. He is definitely at the top of the automotive YouTube pyramid for sure. And yeah, and it's easy to go as Chris Fix. You just put on the t-shirt and wear a helmet, and no one knows. You could actually be the real Chris Fix under there. So it's kind of like dressing up as a Stig, except it's less work because you don't need the whole suit. You just have the helmet and you're set. So thank you so much again for the super chat. I hope you have a good Halloween as well, Tu Chang and all of you. We'll go for another 45 minutes or so here, and then I'll let everyone get on with their Halloween festivities here for the day. So Ethan says, if the Bullet is worth over 6 figures someday due to the crazy car market and high collectability of that car, would you sell it then? Probably not. Again, it would really come down to the circumstances and, how valuable that money is to me or what I would use that money for. I just feel like I would probably never sell the Bullet unless there's some other thing that happened. If like Ford royally upsetted me in some way and I was like swearing off Ford and I wanted to just like completely get rid of it or something like that, then maybe it's something like that. I'd be like, all right, fine, I'll sell it. It's worth tons of money. And then I would just, do something like that. But I love the car so much. I really think it's a high watermark as far as Mustang history. I mean, it's not like it's unique just because it's a Bullet or anything, but just a naturally aspirated V8, manual transmission, no hybrid stuff, no electric stuff. Nothing weird. It's just the classic formula, but you have the great infotainment. You have the newer tech of the gauges and all that kind of stuff that are digital. You have the rev matching of the manual. It's kind of the perfect blend of the new and the old, in my opinion. And we'll see what they do with the new Mustang next year. If that, is something that is appealing. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, maybe, if I don't think they're ever going to do another Bullet, but if they do another Bullet in 10 years and it completely blows my mind and I have to have it and I can get a ton of money for the old one and I'm okay replacing it or swapping it, then maybe something like that. I could see selling it, but I love the car. I mean, I have pictures of it like coming down the assembly line. So it's like, I have this deep sentimental, connection to it. And I've noticed, this is another reason why, regardless of money, I probably wouldn't sell it, is that I'm a very sentimental person. Every single car that I've sold, I've regretted it. Even the ones that are terrible, like the Mini that, left me stranded and annoyed me to no end. I still miss that Mini. And I'm like, man, I wish that thing was reliable. I would have loved to keep it, longer and enjoy it. The BRZ, I'm very sentimental about. I wish that I hadn't sold that car. I miss my Legacy GT Spec B. I mean, really the only ones I'm not sentimental about are the other Mustangs I've had in the past because I love the Bullet and it's basically the same thing, just, newer and better and faster. But aside from that, like all of my other previous cars, I regret selling and I miss them all. So I know, and because I actually, with these higher prices and stuff on them, it has been a little bit tempting. Like, man, I could basically sell this for almost what I paid for it brand new. But even Beth was like, you're going to regret it. You're going to kick yourself. You're going to be sad about it. And, no time at all. You'll be like, man, like, even if I bought something amazing, like even, for example, if I could swap it for a Corvette Z06, the new one, which is hands down going to be a way sweeter car than my Bullet is. But I would still, even if I had a new Z06, I'd still be like, man, I really miss that Bullet. Like, because I'm just dumb like that. So, yeah, I don't think I could ever justify selling it. Again, unless I absolutely had to because I was completely broke or something, then I would go for it. But otherwise, I don't think I'm going to. WX guy, you got me. I almost was going to say WX guy. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says your drinking during the weekly update on the WX was funny and entertaining. I always enjoy your videos. You're very authentic. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I do need to work into drinking into more weekly updates because that was such a huge hit, and I really it was fun to do. So if we get some more bad news here, I can do it again. Or someone actually suggested in this past weekly update, I should have poured a drink for the Corvette C06 because it was so awesome. And that is another really good idea. I really like that idea that maybe whenever there's a really, really sweet car that I'm really excited and I just think is a huge car for the car world, maybe I'll pour a drink in honor of the awesome engineers and the awesome company that brought that car to life and actually put it out there for us to enjoy. So maybe that'll be something that I will do as I'll start drinking and saluting the awesome cars that do come out here in the next few years. That's maybe a fun thing. Let me know what you guys think about that. Tu Chang, thank you so much for another super chat here. He says, okay, I'm done for today. LOL, real question. Donut just dropped a podcast in Aston and James Bond. What other car company and franchise would you compare it to in your mind? A podcast maybe about Aston Martin and James Bond. So other car company and franchises. Well, I think, the first one I think of is like Fast and Furious and Dodge. They kind of are kind of intertwined now, especially over the past, 5 or so movies. And, I think that's another one that's really strong. Others, really, I think it's unique the way James Bond and Aston Martin are so intertwined, but that's also a pretty recent thing. I mean, yes, they started with Aston Martin in the early movies, but, for a while there, it was all over the place. They had the Lotus Esprit, they had the BMWs and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until, Die Another Day where they brought the Aston Martin thing back in. So, that's just something here from the past 20 years. But it's kind of amazing how they've really refortified that whole bond. Coincidentally enough, that whole bond between Bond and Aston Martin, and I think it's a really fun thing. And I can't think of any other things other than Fast and Furious and Dodge. You have, obviously Back to the Future and the DeLorean, but the DeLorean is not an actual company anymore. So, but that's another one, of course, that really is a strong, car connection there. But yeah, thank you for all the super chats too, Chang. And again, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Seal Forever, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, any insight on the Dodge Challenger's future? Nothing super recent. It just the most recent speculation from a couple of months back now was that Dodge kind of said, yes, we're doing the electric thing in 2024, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting rid of this Challenger generation even by 2024. Because I guess, there's been the factories and the union agreements for those factories in Canada that were suggesting, I believe 2023 was going to be the last calendar year that they build that generation Charger and Challenger as long as, or I guess as according to those union contracts. But supposedly Dodge is like, that's not the full story. We will probably continue it beyond that, whether it's like the same thing as the Ram Classic, where they just build the old one alongside the new one for a little while, or what the case is there, I don't know. But, we do know, of course, they have the electric thing coming in 2024, whether that's a Charger, a Challenger, or something different, I don't know. But I think we should be getting more info on that here next year. Because if it is, I believe it's 2024 model year. I'm not totally sure. So that would mean it would come out in 2023. But I don't know. We'll have to see, what if they have any new teasers or anything. But as of right now, it's still kind of totally up in the air. There's been the back and forth about what platform it's going to be on. That doesn't seem to really be anything super solid anymore because the whole idea of it being on the Alpha platform has been, dead and buried. So that's not happening. So, what they put it on, I don't know. There's been talks that it will still use the same old platform and they'll just heavily redo everything else. There's others that are saying that, maybe they will do some type of other, new platform. I don't know. It's still kind of up in the air. I wish I had more info too, because I'm curious to know what they do. But I do know that the people behind Dodge, they have an awesome designer. They have awesome engineers. The people that I know within Stellantis now, FCA, they're all awesome car people. And I have confidence that it will be awesome. Same thing goes for the new Mustang. I don't know if I don't think I ever put this story in a video. I think I've brought it up in other live streams in the past, but I actually, on my flight home from the LA Auto Show in 2019, coincidentally was sitting next to the lead designer for the Mach-E and the new next generation Mustang. And we kind of had a little bit of a conversation, and I kind of brought up some of my, things I didn't love about the Mach-E and stuff, just friendly, very kindly. But, he told me he said, the Mustang is in safe hands. Nothing's, happening to the two-door Mustang. That is still going to be, awesome. And he seemed very excited about, what's coming for that. So I don't think we have any reason to be worried or concerned. I know that there's all these reports of everything going all electric in 2030 or whatever, but that still is 9 years away. Even if that does happen and everyone meets their goals, which often doesn't happen, but even if we do, we still got a lot of time to enjoy all this other stuff. And so Mustang's in safe hands. And same thing goes for the Dodge and stuff. So can't say the same about Subaru. Fingers crossed. They do good things with the new STI, but at least as far as the muscle cars go, I think they're going to continue to be awesome for a good long while. Jersey Boy Greaser says, serious question. I'm currently in the market for my first classic car. I'm jealous. I'm hoping to get a classic car someday. He says, I'm torn between a 55 Thunderbird, a 59 Thunderbird, and a 67 Firebird. They're all in decent shape and fair priced. Obviously, they have a lot of different characteristics to each of those. So it's going to come down to, what you're looking for. Do you want a back seat? Do you want a larger vehicle, smaller vehicle? Personally, if it were me picking between those three, I'd go for the 55 Thunderbird most likely, because I just still think it's the prettiest of all of the generations of the Thunderbird. But now, though, now that I have a daughter and I'd like to bring her along, I really want every vehicle that I would buy to be having a back seat. So, now I've been kind of considering if I were to get a Thunderbird or something, maybe the 59s would be a better choice with the back seat. And you still have the very fun looks with the huge fins and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't need a back seat, 55. If you do need a back seat, 59 is my opinion. I think the Firebirds are cool, but to me, they are not nearly as cool as the Thunderbirds. But it just kind of depends on what decade you're into. I'm really into the 40s and the 50s as far as classic cars go, more so than some of the stuff in the 60s. I think some vehicles in the 60s got a little more kind of watered down, just a little more streamlined and a little less crazy with the fins and stuff. So I love the stuff from the 50s a little bit more. And Bert agrees, 55 without hesitation. 59, T-Bird is a future lowrider. I think there's probably some people that have already even put lowrider stuff on the 59s, but I love all generations of the Thunderbird. I think they're great. So Bert also is asking, I cannot recall if you've ever gone down the quarter mile in any of your personal vehicles. Have you ever considered filming a Friday night drag segment at your local raceway? I have done it. The only vehicle I've actually taken down the drag strip was my 06 Legacy GT Spec B, and I did that back in college. So we're talking, at this point, it would have probably been like 12 or 11 years ago now. That's the only one I've ever done that with. It would be fun to do. The only thing is, it could be a cool video idea. I agree. But I'm not a huge fan of, launching my vehicle and driving it super hard, just because that kind of stuff, just puts wear and tear. I really enjoy just doing full throttle accelerations without launching, without doing clutch dumps and trying to get the fastest time possible. So, that's my only hesitation with the Bullet, especially the MT82 isn't a super strong transmission either. So I'm not, super eager to, do huge clutch dumps or, put the transmission under a ton of stress. But it could be something fun to do someday, maybe not with the Bullet, but maybe with other, personal vehicles or something. But I have enjoyed going down the quarter mile, track and other vehicles that I've done, on press trips. I did the GT500. I took that down the drag strip in Vegas a bunch of times, and that was a ton of fun. So I definitely enjoy it, but I enjoy it more in other people's cars. I don't have to worry about braking or, maintaining. It's also expensive, tires and all that kind of stuff too. But it'd be fun to maybe do it at least once, even if I just did a super slow launch. I just did it just to run down the drag strip, maybe that'd be kind of fun to do, but it'd just be kind of embarrassing if everyone's like, wow, he's got a 480 horsepower Bullet and he does like a 15-second quarter mile time, something like that. But So anyway, we have Antoine Lee Thomas says, have you seen the new 2 Series and got a painted picture idea of what the new M2 competition package and M2 CS is going to be like? Do you approve of the direction the new 2 Series and M2 is going? I haven't seen one in person, but I have seen the new 2 Series. I'm not a huge fan of the front end still. I mean, it's better than the beaver teeth, but it's not. I don't know. The front bumper still kind of looks like a snowplow or something to me with the way it's got those things in the front. But it's all right. I hope they fix that a little bit more on the M2. But I think they're doing, going in a good direction. Just the fact that the two-door, 2 Series is even still a thing, I'm incredibly grateful to BMW for, because they, don't have to do that. It sells in tiny numbers. I'm sure they're losing money on that project. I doubt they're going to be profitable. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but it's hard to believe that they are going to, have that be a profitable car with how few people are going to buy it and what they're pricing it at. So, but I think they're great, and I'm excited to see what they do. We kind of already know basically what the M2 is going to be, but I'm excited to see how it drives and all that. But I love them. I think the M2 is a really fun vehicle. Even the current generation M2, before the Super came onto the scene, like if I didn't have a Mustang, an M2 would have been one of my top picks for my own personal vehicle. Get that with a manual. And that's another thing. If you do want, like, the same engine as a Supra and you want a 2-door, but you want the manual, grab an M2. They're fantastic in this current generation. And I like them a lot. So definitely a good vehicle. And that was another fun vehicle that I reviewed good while back, but I've never done the newest version. I just did the regular M2. Haven't done any of the other ones since then, but I'm sure they're just even better. But all right. So Wretched Drake says, hey Matt, any idea if when you'll review the new Elantra N? Well, since you guys are on the live stream here, I'll give you guys a little bit of a scoop. I will actually be going on the press launch for the Elantra N. And so it's actually going to be combined with the Kona N, and that is happening here in November. So I don't want to give the exact date, but it's happening in November. I would say look for the reviews on the Elantra N and Kona N by the end of November. Or towards the end of November, I should say. And so that's when, that'll happen. Now that's just going to be, track and street driving. As far as actually living with one and having one as a press vehicle, that'll probably take a while. I'm guessing maybe next spring or summer, I'll have an Elantra and, press vehicle, but I will thankfully be able to do those reviews thanks to being invited onto that press trip. So I'm excited to drive that next month. It's, I have high hopes. I mean, if it's anything like the Veloster N, it's going to be fantastic. So I'm just very excited that they're continuing with more of these N models. It's so awesome. We have other questions here. Richard Drake says, just awesome to know it's coming. Yeah, it's definitely coming. I think some people were just like wondering like when we were going to actually get info on the Elantra Ns and stuff. I don't know how much info they will have aside from obviously the specs and stuff. Hopefully we get pricing at that point and availability and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know if they're going to give us that information or not, but hopefully they do. And, hopefully that'll come out, relatively soon here in the next, month or so, or maybe before the end of the year. We'll have to see. Bert says, duty calls, ladies and gentlemen, stay classy, my friends. Thanks for joining, Bert. I really appreciate it. 09 Black Cobalt SS says, I hope it's priced around 30,000, not too much higher. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what they do with the manual one, but we do know, Veloster N DCT is what, like 33 or something like that. Elantra could be a little bit cheaper, could be a little bit more or something like that. I hope they at least keep it under 35. Anything over 35 is going to be crazy, but I think that it should be somewhere between 30 and 35, hopefully on the lower end of that scale. But no matter how you cut it, it's going to be a fantastic bargain because it's going to be faster than a GTI. It's going to be faster than probably the WRX and stuff. And, do it all for, a really good amount of money and have also good tech. They're still going to have all the screens and all that kind of stuff. And also just, they do such a good job with, even at least in the Veloster end of having, a really good manual, really good sound, really good customization. Hyundai's just doing what everyone wants them to do. And I hope that Subaru and others, pay attention. Like, this is how it's done. Give us the loud exhaust, the crackle and pop. Give us all these fun things. I'm glad that, at least the end models are are giving enthusiasts what they really want, you know, and I'm glad that now it's coming also to the Elantra, so it's more accessible for people who don't want the, you know, funky setup of the Veloster. And so I think Hyundai and Kia, they're giving 110% right now, and everything they're doing is fantastic. And I'm so impressed with all their new products. Like you saw with the GV70 review I just posted too, same deal. Such impressive stuff they're putting out these days. And WG says, any idea when you think you'll get a week with the Hyundai Ioniq 5? It's the first EV I'm really considering if it's priced well. They are super cool. I really love the Ioniq 5. I don't know, because originally I'm pretty sure they said they're going to be available this fall. I don't know when they're actually going to be arriving though, because I don't believe there was a press drive yet for those. And yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the Ioniq 5. I haven't heard anything about it being available in any press fleets. I don't think anyone's actually had any, as press vehicles yet. I don't know. Usually for me, I'm at the lower end of the totem pole. So me personally, I will probably get an Ioniq 5 sometime towards the middle of next year as a press vehicle. Maybe a little bit sooner, but that would be my safe bet on that. And Eric PNC Intel says, Interstellar or Inception? I actually sadly have not seen Interstellar. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. I just have a few of his movies have just fallen through the cracks. I still haven't seen Tenet either. I've been wanting to see that. But I'm so busy. I often don't get time to get to the theaters or, sit around and watch movies very much, but I loved Inception. So as of right now, I'd have to say Inception, but yeah, I got to see Interstellar someday. So we have, Lucas Locke says, yeah, it's not all-wheel drive for the Elantra, which is true. Definitely a bummer. But with a limited slip diff, if you do really need all-wheel drive for snow or something, I think that a good pair of snow tires and a limited slip diff can get you through a lot in the winter. I mean, I drove my Mustangs in the snow with snow tires. I drove the BRZ with snow tires, because that had the limited slip diff. And so, it's doable. I mean, obviously, if you're in huge snow or you're starting on massive hills and you need to go up, in these very intense, mountains or something, then yeah, I get that it's tough. But for most people in daily driving scenarios, even in the winter, maybe you encounter unplowed roads, a few times a year or something. I don't know. I feel like if you have snow tires, it'll probably get you by, and then you have the entire rest of the year to have fun and, still have that awesome experience, But I know everyone's different with their whole all-wheel drive preferences, but I feel like all-wheel drive isn't usually a necessity in the wintertime. WG says Hyundai website's now saying winter release for the Ioniq 5, so interesting. And yeah, chip shortage stuff. I guess I should have figured that was going to push it back, but I just figured they were kind of on the ball with that already whenever they were planning the whole launch for the Ioniq 5, since that was happening as the chip shortage was ongoing anyway, because the EV6, Kia, that has always said like winter. It's never been fall. It's always just like, yep, it's not coming till the winter. Don't expect it any sooner than that. But I guess Hyundai is now finally, going on that same timeline. 09 Black Cobalt SS says, when do you think we will actually see mostly affordable electric vehicles under 30,000 with 200 to 300 miles of range instead of the 40K plus ones we have now? I think, honestly, I don't know. I don't think there's a huge rush because the ones that are out there right now, I know there aren't a lot to pick from, but the ones that are out there right now don't sell super well. Look at the Nissan Leaf. I think Nissan Leaf is a really solid little vehicle for the money. And, now with the Plus version, you can get it well over 200 miles of range and stuff. And people aren't buying those like crazy. Even like the Chevy Bolt, with, those being pretty affordable. I mean, yes, they're over 30, but not that much over that, you'd think people, I know the Bolt's also kind of funky as well, but, I don't know, maybe it'll take Tesla to do something like that before we see that in the mainstream. We also do know that GM has said in their most recent investor thing a few weeks ago that they do want to do some type of affordable $30,000 EV that is on the Ultium platform, I believe. So you should have, over 200 miles of range. And that, I think they said that was coming in a few years. That's not one of the next ones, but it's definitely coming in the future from GM. So maybe they'll be the ones to make something like that popular. We'll have to see. But, I think, again, like I was talking about earlier in this live stream, with the rising transaction prices, I know it's not realistic, but as of right now, everyone paying over $40,000 anyway for the average new car from an OEM standpoint is like, oh, well, everyone's already paying over 40 grand anyway. So why don't we just keep making stuff that's 40 grand and that's it. I think the used market is a great place for people who do want to use or who do want an affordable EV. A lot of these EVs do drop super fast in value. So, you can get one well under 30,000, even like a Bolt that's, a year or two old, can be well under that. So I think that's kind of the solution for now. I think as those prices come down for batteries, that will help make things a lot more affordable as well. We're getting there, and GM is certainly, ramping up volume so they can bring that pricing down. But I think it's still going to take, a little bit of time. I'd say maybe 2025, you can expect, a few more options out there, and that'll be a little bit more mainstream. But then at that point, 2025, you can buy yourself a 3-year-old Model 3 Tesla for, probably under $30,000 or something like that anyway. So, it's like, it's kind of this catch-22 as far as pricing for those. But if you want something super cheap, you have a few options right now. It's just, I know they're kind of weird being hatchbacks and stuff. Luke, thank you so much for the question. He says, are you a fan of the Genesis G80? I am. I love the G80s. The new ones are fantastic. Even the previous generation was great. I did a review on the 2.5T version of the G80. I believe that was early this year I did that. And really solid car. I just wish it was a little bit sportier, but I think they kind of made the choice with the new G80 to be like, hey, this is just a comfortable luxury cruiser, and there's nothing wrong with that. Most people don't need a sports car in their enormous luxury sedan. So I think it's totally fine the way they did the setup on the G80. And now there is the G80 Sport coming here relatively soon, and that will hopefully sharpen things up. I'm excited to test that out. But in the meantime, if you're looking for a great luxury cruiser, G80 is the one to beat, I think. I mean, I know the E-classes and stuff might be a little bit more sophisticated, maybe a little bit nicer, but the value on the G80 is just unbeatable. Like typical Genesis and Hyundai, Kia stuff, they just usually have unbeatable values on all their products, and so same thing goes for the G80. So big fan of the G80 for sure. So another question, how many charging stations are in your local driving circle, Matt? So there's none that are on my driving routes that I do for reviews. I guess actually there is one Tesla station at a Sheetz that's kind of along where I drive sometimes. But aside from that, I kind of got to go a little bit out of the way to get to an Electrify America station. It's about, I think the closest one is like 20-ish minutes away from me. Yeah, and that's another thing with these electric vehicles. It's definitely something they're continuing to work on the charging infrastructure, which I think is important so that when you do bring those, the pricing down to the 30,000s or something for those really affordable EVs, that's when you're going to have a lot, of a bigger adoption and a lot more people going for that. And you want to make sure you have an infrastructure that has enough to actually keep up with all those extra vehicles. So I think keeping the EVs a little bit more expensive for right now makes sense. You kind of have those people be the beta testers, have them work out the kinks with the charging networks and stuff, and have that luxury experience and all that of having the newest thing. It's kind of like the Apple iPhone of, the car world. If you have, the newest thing every year, those people always buy those newest EVs. They try them out. They have the fanciest thing. And then, once it comes down to affordability for everyone else, then, hopefully everything will actually be good enough that you won't regret buying your $25,000 EV or whatever it ends up being. But I think they're doing a really good job with the charging stations. And now we are seeing how like Ford is actually sending out like charging angels, they're calling them, or something, where they're actually patrolling the Electrify America stations. And if they get a report that one of them is down or something, they actually are going to be a lot quicker to react to that and make sure these charging stations are actually functional most of the time and are working well, so that, it is something that can actually be as dependable as a gas station, for people. So yeah, all very interesting to see this huge shift that we've never really seen in our lifetime as far as all these vehicles going to a different propulsion source. I mean, that's something we haven't seen in 100 years, so it's very exciting. And so W&P Media says, what car would you recommend to someone coming from a 2014 Lexus IS 350, something more performance oriented? Well, if you want something that still is reliable, like your Lexus, like 09 Black Cobalt SS says RCF if you can afford one. Yeah, I would say if you want something sportier, go for an RCF or even just a regular like RCF Sport. I think could be a nice little improvement. I think also if you really like your IS, if you can afford a newer IS, these new 2021 versions definitely have some nice improvements to them. So that could be something as well. But yeah, it just kind of depends on how much you like that Lexus reliability, because basically everything else that isn't a Lexus will be less reliable. How much so kind of depends on the brand and stuff. But if you do like that Lexus reliability, stick with a Lexus for sure. And yeah, it just comes down to what you can afford there. If you want something more performance oriented and you're not opposed to actually going backwards, you could also go to like the like 2011 ISF, get that, have something that's definitely more performance oriented with that too. You could also go up to a GS, and even if you can't afford a GSF, get a regular GS, a little bit larger. But still that same rear-wheel drive driving dynamics, but not quite as extreme. I'm trying to think of other stuff that you might enjoy, like maybe like a G37, but that's going to be similar to the IS350 as far as how it feels in its setup and all that, and probably just less reliable by a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if you want something, there's all kinds of things. You get like a Chevy SS sedan from around that time period. Those are fantastic with the V8 and the manual. You still get the four-door thing. It's also a V8 from GM, so it's very reliable and should run forever. So that's maybe a solid choice. I think maybe like a Dodge Charger. Those have been pretty reliable here in the past few years. So if you're okay with something that isn't quite as luxurious, you could go for something like that. That's probably all my best suggestions. If someone says IS500, if you can afford one of those brand new IS500s, that's definitely the way to go. Those are fantastic. And Black Cobalt SS says the Chevy SS sedans are coming in value now, so maybe those are going to be too expensive. We'll see. Maybe people are finally catching on to the brilliance of the Chevy SS. Those are so good, those cars. But hopefully that helps you a little bit. Sorry, I'm not super helpful, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight there. Z is asking, is Chevy going to kill off the Camaro? Yes, it seems like they will. Whether it's forever or what they do remains to be seen, but it sounds like 2024 is the end possibly of the Camaro. It could come back as an electric four-door sedan is one of the ideas. The other is just that it could be an electric two-door Camaro that they could maybe come back with. But it sounds like even if they do one of those two things, it wouldn't be immediate. So it sounds like there will be a silence from the Camaro once again for a few years, and then they'll come back with something possibly. But we'll have to see. But I think it's pretty certain the Camaro is going to die, especially since they don't sell very many of them. That goes for any car that doesn't sell. If it doesn't sell, people just quit. They quit building them. So I think that's sadly going to be the fate of the Camaro here. Blue Collar Jose, thank you so much for the super chat here. He says, what would be considered a reasonable upgrade to a 19 Civic Si? No sedans, please. Okay. Well, if you really like your Honda, you could go to you'd have to go backwards in a few years, but you could go for an Accord V6 Coupe with a manual. That could be kind of a fun thing if you really are into Hondas. If you're willing to venture outside of Honda, other upgrades, it really comes down to what you're looking for as well, aside from just if you're wanting a two-door, that still doesn't narrow it down a whole lot, because it still comes down to do you want all-wheel drive, do you want rear-wheel drive, do you want front-wheel drive? If you don't care about any of those three, then there's a bunch of different stuff. You could go for like an Infiniti G37 or something like that. Nissan Z, any of the sports cars out there are great. Mustangs are great, Camaros, Challengers. There's a lot of good things. I think also, like I kind of was talking about earlier with someone, if you like the high revving nature of the older Civic SIs, the 19 has the 1.5T, but if you want, something that's high revving, the GR86 and the new BRZ are great. They're going to be faster than the Civic Si, at least the stock Si would be. And that gives you that great rear-wheel drive handling as well. So it's going to be a lot better than the front-wheel drive stuff. So you have those, as potential options as well. I think if it were me wanting something small and affordable, in the 200 horsepower range, GR86 all day long would be my top pick for you. But again, it really comes down to what you're looking for in particular. If you would like to kind of go through and really narrow down, all the criteria of what you're looking for, I can give you a better recommendation. Anyone is welcome to send me an email. I have all my contact info in the description below, or you can send me a message on Facebook. I sometimes respond a little bit faster there because whenever I get emails, sometimes they fall through the cracks and it takes me a while to respond. But I'd be more than happy to talk through all the options, and kind of figure out exactly what would be the best pick for you based on what you're looking for, what your lifestyle is like, what you need, what you don't need, and what you prefer. All those types of things, really will help me to make a better recommendation for you. But a blanket recommendation, like I said, GR86, I think is definitely a great upgrade. WG is suggesting the same thing. And Black Cobalt SS says, don't you mean Meta now? Yeah, I guess so. I'm pretty sure the Meta thing, that they're only using that for like the parent company, right? I don't think Facebook.com is going to actually be Meta.com. I don't think. I haven't looked into that whole thing because it seems kind of silly to me. But yeah. And all right, we got another about 10 minutes or so here on the live stream. So Antoine Lee Thomas says, have you gotten a chance to link up with Sophion since he's moved to Pennsylvania, since you're both living in the same state now? We definitely do want to meet up at some point and do some type of collab, or even just to hang out. I'm excited to kind of show him Pittsburgh here, because I don't think he's ever been. But we don't have any plans just yet, but it's something that we definitely want to do in the future. We also get to see each other a decent bit on press trips. A lot of times we're on the same press trips. And so we're able to, kind of catch up and hang out there. So we do get to hang out, even if it's not on camera. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get to do something. I haven't really done much this year just because of COVID and stuff still, and especially being extra safe with, the new baby. I didn't want to take any extra risks. And so I've kind of been a hermit this whole year. I haven't really gone to any car shows. I haven't met up with anybody. I haven't really done anything socially, honestly. So, but yeah, hopefully next year I can certainly do some more of that kind of stuff, and hopefully do a video with Sophion. I actually have a couple cool little ideas of things we might be able to do for videos. So we'll have to see. But he's awesome, and it's cool to see that he's in Pennsylvania now. Another question here says, will Matt ever get into reviewing motorcycles? Definitely not. Motorcycles are really cool. I admire them a lot. I admire people that ride them, especially the bravery of those people, because with so many distracted drivers out there these days, I would never ride a motorcycle on the road. I would be into doing dirt bikes someday if I lived in a place and had the time and the space and the money and all. If there was ever a circumstance where it made sense, where I had free time to do dirt bike kind of stuff, that would be something I'd be very interested to try someday. But on the road, even if you're the best rider out there, and even if you do react really quickly to other people's stupid moves, it's just, not having any protection around you. If I'm going to have some, distracted driver ram into me, I want to have metal and airbags and crumple zones and all that kind of stuff. Especially after the couple of accidents that I've been through with other people, I definitely like having a safe vehicle, and unfortunately motorcycles just don't have that. So, it's something I don't think I'll ever be able to do, unfortunately. I'm sorry if you'd love to see that kind of content from me, but it's not going to happen, I don't think. WG says, Matt, what's an automotive trend that you love, and what's another trend that you feel needs to go away? Well, I mean, I think, the thing with automotive trends, I can give my personal opinion as well, but I think the thing with automotive trends is the fact that there's any trends or whatever the flavor of the year is. I just like that people are excited about cars still, that they're into cars, and that there is any kind of interest there whatsoever, because that is something that is kind of slowly dying with younger generations that care less about driving in general, and they just Uber everywhere and they want autonomous stuff. They don't care about cars. So anyone who's interested in cars, regardless of how terrible their taste is, they're into cars, and that's a win in my book. I think as far as trends go, I don't like the stance thing. I think it's kind of impractical. And I mean, maybe it's just me, not having a flair for the style side of it, but you couldn't pay me to ever stance a car. You could say, here's $1 million, stance your bullet. I'd say, nope, no thanks. Like I wouldn't do it. Not my thing. But I think that's probably my least favorite car trend right now. But again, even people that stance their cars, they're modifying their cars. They're passionate about their cars. They love them. It looks cool to them. They enjoy it. So I would never ever say, oh, you shouldn't stance your car. If you like that stuff, go for it. That's awesome. No judgment here whatsoever. But I personally, that's just as far as things that I would do to my car, that's at the bottom of the list for me. But as far as favorite trend, I don't know about anything in the aftermarket world because I don't really follow much of the whole aftermarket car scene much anymore, honestly. But I think one trend that I really love seeing more and more is the auto rev matching downshifts and just the companies that are making manuals more accessible. Because I think if you can kind of remove some of the intimidation factor of manuals, then you'll get a little bit more people that are willing to try it out and hopefully fall in love with it. I think that's why I'm really excited about the new Civic Si having the auto rev matching downshift, because that car is actually like a hard car with a rev hang to drive smoothly. And so with the new one here, having that rev matching that was so good in the Type R, I think bringing that down to the Si is great. You're going to have a lot of people that are like, well, this isn't so hard, at least on the downshift side. If they can have that, on a test drive, it's just a matter of, again, learning how to do the clutch and stuff. But aside from that, hopefully makes that a little bit easier and accessible for people. Anything that makes the manual a better experience for people, I think is, really great. Like even Toyota with the new Corolla manual, how they have the intelligent manual transmission, which will actually smooth out your shifts and make it so that it's really hard to stall that car. That is another great thing that, again, more people might try it out because, oh, there's this system here to help me a little bit. I can still row my own gears. I can still put a clutch in and have that engagement, but I don't have to worry about being embarrassed at a red light when I stall. I don't have to worry about burning my clutch or being terrified to drive my car because I can't, heel toe my downshifts perfectly like I'm, a race car driver. I like that component and, just making things a little less snobby and a little more just welcoming, I think is great. And so I think that's probably the thing that I love seeing. And honestly, that's what I love about, one of the things I love about my Bullet is that it has that, because the Mustangs also have a heavy flywheel and it's not super easy to rev match your downshifts in the regular manual Mustangs. And from 19 and on, they put that in. And if I had to do one complaint about the new GR86, that's the one thing that I really wish they would have put in that they don't have. I mean, I know that it's a pure driver's car. Again, it's that whole thing, but I don't think there would be any harm in having the auto rev matching and the GR86 and the BRZ. And I really am bummed they didn't add that, honestly, because I think that would have really just added a nice little cherry on top for that car. But I think, all the other car companies are doing that. And I think that's a great trend that's been happening recently. Goth Rocker, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. And this will probably here be the last question as well. Thank you so much for the generous super chat, though. He says, found my 2017 Lincoln Continental with all-wheel drive. What a deal. Found one with 16,391 miles. Black on black. Love it. Beautiful, classy American luxury. Should have never stopped making it. You should still review one. I would still love to review one. I did a little quick drive video on a Continental on a little drive program that was super short. I love the Continental. I think, the big downfall with it was that the back seat wasn't big enough for a lot of fleet customers, and the trunk wasn't big enough for fleet. And that was kind of one of the things that hurt a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. I think it was just that it just came out at the wrong time when everyone's been obsessed with SUVs. But I love the new Continental. I thought it was great. I was so excited. I thought the marketing for it was great. I thought the styling was great. I thought it was the perfect setup. It wasn't trying to be a sports car. It was just like, hey, let's make a nice, comfortable luxury sedan unapologetically. They're not trying to be like Cadillac and turn them into race cars. They're not trying to, chase after the Germans. They're like, hey, let's do classic American luxury, like you said. And that's what it is. And unfortunately, a lot of those people just now want to sit up high in an enormous truck, so it's unfortunate. I'm glad, a few people appreciate it. I'm glad you do as well. It's a great cruiser, especially if you're someone who does a lot of miles, does a lot of driving. That would be a really great, kind of commuter car, highway cruiser, road tripper kind of car. The new Continentals are great. And I'd love to spend more time with one. And I'd love to review one at some point for sure. Uh, so yeah, that's about it here though. I guess we have another minute and a half. We can see if we can do another quick one, but thank you so much once again for that super chat. Um, so we have William says, I like learning stick the good old fashioned way in my Mazda 3 personally, but I agree that if it makes more people come around to it, then that's great. Yeah, and I really think that hopefully we start seeing, this greater divide of, there's the people who want the fastest thing possible and they can go get their electric cars and stuff. But hopefully, I think that as we'll see that as stuff gets, more where I guess as gas powered stuff gets more and more rare and the sporty true sports cars get more and more rare, I hope that they really lean into the whole manual thing, because I think those two buyers are going to be more and more similar, and everyone who just wants the 0 to 60 times will just go electric, and everyone else will just be like, hey, I want a slow gas engine. I want a slow manual transmission, but it's all about that experience. And they don't care about having the fastest thing or the fastest shifting thing. And they don't care that it's outdated. They want it to be outdated and old fashioned. And I really, hope that there's some car companies that can kind of justify a way to keep some of that stuff around. But I think it's really going to divide the whole car community, because there are a lot of people that just were into cars because they wanted the fastest thing possible. And they don't care about the sound as much, and they don't care about that stuff. It's just about bragging rights, and those people will go buy Tesla Plaids and be done with it. So we'll see how the car world evolves here in the next 10 years. I think it's gonna be very interesting to see how that all changes. And it's, again, we're living in very crazy times here that we're seeing this stuff happen before our eyes. The first time in 100 years we've seen our vehicles change their propulsion source to a different energy source. It's wild stuff, and it's very exciting to follow and cover here. And yeah, but it's been a great live stream. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. I know I certainly enjoyed talking with all you guys and answering your questions. Hopefully it helped. I hope you guys enjoy your Halloween here tonight, and have a great week as well. Stay tuned. Speaking of electric vehicles, though, this coming week, my review will be on a Volvo XC40 Recharge, which is one of the craziest sleepers out there. 400 horsepower. It'll blow the doors off a bunch of sports cars, and it's a little cute soccer mom SUV with 400 horsepower instantly with electric. It was a fun one to review, so definitely stay tuned for that here this week. But yes, that's it as far as this live stream. Thank you guys very much for watching. And yeah, please continue to stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.